The Blue Jackets were big winners in the first round of the NHL draft tonight. Adam Fantilli is a Columbus Blue Jacket. That's today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Hayden. I'm here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite team and mine, this CBJ. Before I get going, I want to thank you all for making this your first listen every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and the SiriusXM app. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you very much to Pat Verbeek and the rest of the Anaheim Ducks organization. You completely changed the mood of this episode for me tonight personally when the Ducks decided to select Leo Carlsson second overall. The Jackets get the guy that they wanted at third overall. They get the guy that they would have selected at second overall had they been that high. Adam Fantilli, 6'3" center from Ontario, Canada. Amazing break for Jackets and for Jackets fans. This was huge. How surprised was I that Adam Fantilli fell to number 2? Pretty darn surprised. I mean, I was shocked. There were assumptions leading up to the draft that the Anaheim Ducks were big fans of Leo Carlsson and that they were going to pass on Adam Fantilli and make a move for Leo Carlsson. And I didn't really believe it, to be honest. I don't tend to believe things I see in the media when it comes to that. I thought all along what the media had been telling me was that Adam Fantilli was the surefire number 2 pick, and that the Blue Jackets were just going to probably have to accept the fact that they weren't going to get that guy and that they were probably going to get Leo Carlsson, who was a great player in his own right. And I'll get to maybe why the Ducks selected him in a second. But I just had no belief that the reports were true that the Anaheim Ducks were considering taking Leo Carlsson over Adam Fantilli. I just didn't believe it. I don't know why. And then we get to draft night, and it happens. They take Leo Carlsson, number 2. I guess for their team right now where they're at, maybe they decided that he was a better fit. I still think Leo Carlsson's a really good player. I mean, he's 6'4". The dude is massive. He skates really well. He put up unreal numbers in the Swedish league, historic numbers really in the Swedish league. And a lot of people think that he's NHL ready. I don't see how he's any more NHL ready than Adam Fantilli. I think Adam Fantilli is just as good, if not better, at all the things that Leo Carlsson's good at. And Leo Carlsson's really good. Don't get me wrong. It seems like I'm hating on Leo hard, but the truth is I would have had a very positive feeling about Leo Carlsson being a Blue Jacket just the same. He reminds me a lot of Patrick Laine. Fortunately for the Blue Jackets, we already have a Patrick Laine, so it's like this is a really good thing for the Blue Jackets. And maybe the Ducks look at Adam Fantilli and they're like, we already have a guy like him. Maybe they see that in Zegras. I don't know. Maybe they see that in Troy Terry. I don't know. I mean, I think Fantilli is an absolute gem of a player, and he fell to the Blue Jackets tonight. Again, super shocked by that. I think I'm going to say that a million times on this episode alone and in the future. Yeah, again, the assumption is that Leo Carlsson is a better player for the NHL right now. I don't believe so. Again, maybe they thought that he was a better fit for their team than Fantilli was. I don't know what happened. Maybe he interviewed better. I don't know. Point is, that's how the chips fall. Connor Bedard obviously goes number 1 to the Chicago Blackhawks. Ducks and Blue Jackets fans and Yotes fans, I just always throw them in the mix. we all had that kind of, missing out feeling like, man, wish we were getting 98 tonight. But Adam Fantilli is a great, great pick for the Blue Jackets for so many obvious reasons. And I can't wait to get into all of them. But yeah, just that initial question, how surprised are you that the Ducks actually went through and took Leo Carlsson second overall? I mean, I'm shocked. I thought Fantilli was the surefire guy. Guess Pat Verbeek and the rest of the Ducks organization didn't see it that way, and he falls to Columbus. I am not mad about it in the slightest. I know Jay wasn't mad about it either. He had the reaction episode. He was very, very excited, and that's good to see. But we're gonna keep talking about this. I'm gonna talk about what this means for the future of the Blue Jackets in a second here. But before we get talking about Adam Fantilli, the center, 6'3" center out of the University of Michigan, and what he's going to be doing in Columbus, I want to talk to you guys about our friends at Athletic Greens. At Athletic Greens, they are big sponsors here with the Locked On Podcast Network. And when I gave them a try for the first time, I was at a point where I was really tired of taking supplements, and I wanted a single solution that supports my entire body and covers all the nutritional bases every single day. I wanted better gut health, a boost in energy, a boost in immune system support. I hated taking pills and vitamins. I mean, as much as I like taking gummies every day, I still feel like an absolute child. Athletic Greens kind of puts everything in one. I just wanted a supplement that actually tastes great as well. I drink AG1 in the morning and in the afternoon before working out, before I make my coffee, before I even really get my day going. It makes me feel unstoppable. It makes me ready to take on the day, ready to go, like I'm doing something good for my body, like I'm giving my body a chance at actually having a good day. So get Athletic Greens. They're going to cover all the nutritional basis that you need, and also taste fantastic. So yeah, I can't emphasize it enough. Go to athleticgreens.com/NHL network and absolutely have yourself a time. Back to Adam Fantilli here. Again, I honestly had a really tough time believing anybody in the media in the weeks ahead of the NHL draft that said that the Ducks were considering taking Leo Carlsson over Adam Fantilli. Again, really glad that came to fruition. Just to go over, our boys down there in Nashville and what the scene looked like. John Davidson, when he, steps up for Columbus, his mustache looked absolutely great on TV. Anytime that thing gets shine on national TV, it's pretty awesome. Also love that he gave the Blue Jackets fans at Pins a shout out. Is there a better line than "have a time, gang"? That was absolutely amazing. Anybody at Pins, or excuse me, he said, "have a party, gang." That's what he said to the shout out. That's what he said in the shout out to the fans at Pins that night. That had to be electric for anybody at Pins at that time. Like, yeah, just a total absolute uncle vibes coming out of JD. And again, anytime that mustache gets on national TV, it's absolutely electric. Does it bother me that the Blue Jackets are getting another Wolverine? I think I say this all the time. It does bother me how many Wolverines we have in Columbus. But the truth is, they've already infiltrated the city. The Blue Jackets have tons of Wolverines. It's they're a pretty elite college hockey program that has just been dumping dudes in the NHL over the last few years. So for the Blue Jackets to go to that same route that has been successful for them in the past and successful for other teams, it's not really a shocker. I'm also a pretty big college hockey guy through and through. So for the Blue Jackets to take the number one prospect out of the NCAA in this year's draft, I mean, I'm obviously very excited about that as well. Just to go over the last few number one NCAA guys to come out of each draft. Last year, third overall, Logan Cooley from Minnesota went to Arizona. We haven't seen totally what he is yet, but the year before that was when kind of the absolute overload on Michigan guys took place. In 2021, first overall, Owen Power, second overall, Matty Berniers, fourth and fifth, Luke Hughes from Michigan, and Kent Johnson from Michigan. Michigan had 4 of the first 5 draft picks just 2 years ago in this draft. And all these guys have turned out great. In fact, Ken Johnson, he's one of the better players on the team already in just his first year in the NHL in Columbus. He's turned out great. Luke Hughes was a huge contributor for the Devils this past year. And then Matty Beniers in Seattle and Owen Power in Buffalo have been absolutely phenomenal. So a lot of NCAA guys have worked out very, very well, including the Ducks' Trevor Zegras, who spent a year at Boston University. He was 9th overall in the 2020 or in the 2019 draft, which is hard to believe that he fell all the way back there. It should be exciting for anybody that would be here and for some reason would be here not a CBJ fan, that you can get some really good players later in that first round, later in the top 10. But Blue Jackets had a top 3 overall pick. They got Adam Fantilli. He is a 6'3" center. Seems like a really, really good kid, man. I mean, if anybody saw the back of his vest tonight when he walked up there, you could clearly tell that it was a custom vest with some writing on the back of it. It ended up being all his coaches, teachers, family members, friends that helped him get him to where he's at. So huge credit to him for being humble. I keep hearing about these Michigan men. I don't really know what being a Michigan man means, because it seems like every time I encounter a Michigan man, they don't quite act like a man. But this was the most manly thing I've seen a Michigan player do. That was the definition of being a Michigan man. So huge credit to him for being humble. I was kind of hoping that the back of his vest was going to be the Declaration of Independence when I initially saw it, because just the way that the script looked, I was like, does he have the Declaration of Independence on the back of his vest? That's absolutely electric. It was not, which makes sense because he's from Toronto, Canada. So I would not expect him to have a United States government document on the back of his vest, but it did look like it at first, and that would have gotten me excited equally as it did get me excited that he had, all the folks that helped him get to where he's at in life. His father was crying. That was pretty electric. Anytime we get real father tears, that's pretty exciting. No, this is huge that the Blue Jackets got this guy. Again, I'm a big college hockey fan. It doesn't really matter to me whether Adam Fantilli decides to play at Michigan next year or play with Columbus. Obviously, between the two, I'd love for him to play with the Blue Jackets next year. But if he does have to go back to Michigan for another season, at least that you'll get to go to the Schottenstein Center, and when Ohio State plays Michigan, one of the guys on the other team is going to be your future. That's pretty damn exciting. As someone who likes to just go casual Ohio State hockey game every now and then, great place to watch future NHLers play for any Blue Jackets fan in town. I mean, I want to put that out there, but it's really, really exciting, man. How does this work for the future? Well, the Jackets hopefully have their next generational talent at center. This guy is a guy that people say if Bedard wasn't in the draft this year, he could have been going first overall, which would have been just amazing if it's had gotten the first overall pick and had that choice. Obviously, it's not how the cards fell this year, but a lot of things are changed for me as a Blue Jackets fan, and where the next season. Again, we still don't know if Adam Fantilli is going to be able to come in and make an impact on this team, as he has not made his decision yet on whether he will be returning to the University of Michigan. Either way, he's going to go back there, play on a really good team, probably hone in on some of those skills in a place that he's comfortable at. And now he's going into a professional organization that he's also very, very comfortable with going to. Before the NHL draft, he said he would love to go to Columbus. There's a lot of guys that played at Michigan that are playing in Columbus, so it's going to be an easy locker room for him to roll into. He's going to have a lot in common with a lot of the big name guys. I don't have to rattle off all the Michigan guys in the Blue Jackets locker room for you, but I will. Zach Werenski, Kent Johnson, Nick Blankenburg, Nate Bird. Man, it's been a long night. It's been a long night of studying a bunch of hockey film on 19 to 20-year-olds, and as you can see for folks on the YouTube, I look very tired, and it's because I am. This was a very, very long process for the Blue Jackets getting to this point, trying to figure out which player they were going to get out of this draft. And for my money, again, I think the Blue Jackets got the better player between Adam Fantilli and Leo Carlsson. I just have that instinct on it. I don't know if that instinct is correct. I'm not saying it's correct, but that's just my initial hunch. And I would have remained consistent with that too if the Ducks and Pat Verbeek had made the decision to take Adam Fantilli at number 2. I would be feeling kind of like, man, the Blue Jackets, they got the 3rd best player in this draft, maybe even the 4th or 5th best player in this draft, because Matvei Michkov is a very, very talented player as well. He went all the way back at 7th overall in this draft. Now, granted, long list of reasons why. Well, I guess it's a short list of reasons why he went so far back. It's because he just can't play in America yet because of certain rules with Russia, I guess. I mean, we know Russia, they tend to be hardos on certain things. But again, I think the Blue Jackets got the superior talent when you pit him against Carlsson. I think it was side by side. The Blue Jackets got a better player. And I know that is easy to say right now as someone who is wearing a Blue Jackets hat doing the Locked On Blue Jackets podcast. It's very easy for me to say, but I think it's true. You watch some Adam Fantilli film, this guy really knows how to play with pace, man. I don't know, Leo Carlsson, he's such a big player. He kind of just glides on the ice, and granted, he can glide by people, and he has a really powerful shot, which is why he reminds me so much of Laine. But I don't think the Blue Jackets needed another Laine. I think the Blue Jackets need a center that's just going to push the pace hard, has good hand-eye coordination, and can make a lot of things happen. I think the Blue Jackets got that guy, which is really, really exciting for Columbus. And man, a big, big sigh of relief for me personally. Even though he's a Michigan Wolverine, he's a really, really good player. And the Wolverines have put some really, really high-end talent in the NHL lately, and it kind of makes this whole past season of the Blue Jackets kind of being buns. It makes it worth it. It really does. It really makes it worth it because of these guys. Even there was a huge drop-off in my mind between Adam Fantilli, Leo Carlsson, and Will Smith. Leo Carlsson and Adam Fantilli are both guys that I think are much more NHL ready, which is why the Ducks, if you're a Ducks fan for some reason, checking out what the guy behind you is feeling, you should be very, very happy about Leo Carlsson. He's for your team right now with Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras. You guys seem to be really, really good at having those skilled centers that push the pace. Leo Carlsson's also a skilled center. I'm not saying he's not. It's just I like the skill that Fantilli has a lot more than the skill of Leo Carlsson. I think Leo Carlsson relies a lot more on his size to be good, which I don't really care for because sometimes those guys get hurt. The bigger you are, the harder you fall. And he's not that much bigger than Fantilli. He's only an inch taller. But again, those are the kind of things that play into NHL GMs' minds when they're making these decisions. And that's why I would just love to pick the brain of Pat Verbeek. Why did you take Leo Carlsson over Fantilli? What did you see? What do you see with your team right now that made that kind of influence you in this decision? I don't know. But again, as just some random dude sitting here in Columbus, Ohio, Blue Jackets made it out like absolute bandits. We're going to talk about the rest of the draft here in a second. We're going to take a quick pause. And before we get going, I want to real quickly thank the everydayers for tuning in to Locked On Blue Jackets. It's a really cool thing to have you guys. You guys are the truest fan bases. The everydayers. You might recall a show, last week when we were talking about being really, really excited about Leo Carlsson joining the team. It's great to be sitting right here as an everydayer, I'm sure, and wake up and be like, wow, we got Adam Fantilli. It's really, really exciting. Any everydayer on this podcast knows that it's absolutely huge for the Blue Jackets' future to have that solid player up the middle is going to be really, really big for Columbus in the future. And again, he's going to be playing in Columbus one way or another, hopefully in a Blue Jackets uniform, but he'll definitely be playing in Columbus in a Michigan uniform on certain nights, which is really, really exciting because, hey, I'm all for people going to the Schottenstein Center and catching a college hockey game, and I'll certainly be doing that if Fantilli decides to come back and play for Michigan. But we'll have plenty more talk on Adam Fantilli, who he is as a player here in the future, just to cover the rest of the draft before I get out of here. I'm a little tired. Again, like I said, been studying a lot of film on all these guys. All these guys really, as in just Leo Carlson and Adam Fantilli. I knew it was coming down to those two. There was a kind of a late throw-in for the Blue Jackets might, go Will Smith. I never really believed that. I would have been very, very frustrated if the Blue Jackets would have taken Will Smith. I know he comes from a good program in the USA National Development Team, but I trust NCAA hockey a little bit more. Maybe it's because I'm clearly biased because I'm a huge Ohio State Buckeye fan and followed that team and have been following that team for the last several years. I love the NCAA. I think it is a really good league. And just look at the draft in 2021. Just point to that draft because, again, Michigan had 4 of the top 5 guys going into the first round there. That's pretty freaking amazing if you ask me. I think as much as it makes me frustrated, the Blue Jackets should be very, very excited because they're getting a player from a really, really good program. I don't have to keep reiterating that. Again, it's been a long night. I want to get out of here. I do want to say a couple things on the NHL draft just in general. I think it's hilarious that all of these, team presidents and GMs come up and they congratulate the Vegas Golden Knights on winning the Stanley Cup, especially teams like the Anaheim Ducks and teams like the San Jose Sharks. What are you guys doing? Like, Mike Greer, the general manager for the Sharks, he's a new GM for absolutely no reason, congratulating the Vegas Golden Knights on winning the Cup. Granted, I mean, it's a classy move, but I didn't really see the Ducks GM as a Ducks fan, or the Sharks GM. I don't really think it behooves the Sharks GM for the Sharks fan for him to be up there congratulating what I assume is their rival on winning the Stanley Cup for a team that has never won a Stanley Cup. Like, that would be pretty savage if, the Blue Jackets won a Stanley Cup one day and the Pittsburgh Penguins GM, hopefully it's Kyle Dubas, because I don't think that guy's a good GM, and I'd love him to be the GM for the Penguins for a long time. Yes, I said that. I don't think Kyle Dubas is a good GM. Wow, that was a random take to have at the end of draft night, but I think it's true. It would be weird if, it'd be cool if Kyle Dubas was like, congratulations to the Blue Jackets on finally winning a Stanley Cup, but that case does not apply here for Mike Greer, general manager of the Sharks, congratulating the Vegas Golden Knights on winning a Stanley Cup because, egg on your face, Mike Greer, you work for an organization that has not won the Stanley Cup yet, and you've been around since the 90s. I don't know. I mean, as a Ducks fan, or as a Sharks fan, I'd be a little bit salty about that. Gary Bettman boos were good. Good job. He was playing into it, which I hate when they play into it because it means that they kind of are starting to like it and get used to it. I wish there was a different thing that we can give him as a fan base, but good job on the Nashville Predators crowd. I've been to a Nashville Predators hockey game. They have some really good hockey fans there, man. They know what they're doing and what they're talking about. So big respect to them for laying on the boos on Gary Bettman. Kevin Weeks, all white suit. That was 2 thumbs up right there. That dude was absolute steezing tonight on the desk. Kevin Weeks is pretty much the only guy at ESPN I feel like that I can count on to make a correct take. I mean, he just seems really, really excited to talk about every single guy that he does end up opening his mouth and talking about. And John Buccigross is over there talking about his daughter working for the social team. Like, dude, we don't care. Can we talk about Adam Fantilli? And yeah, and then Kevin Weeks, obviously he was steezing in the all white suit. Dude, I mean, I'm not cool with him pulling that out every single like time he's wearing a suit, because obviously every time I do see him, he's on TV wearing a suit. But for draft night in Nashville, the all-white suit was an absolute power play. I absolutely loved that. He's a little bit quicker than Carlson right now, is what Brian Boucher said on the broadcast about Adam Fantilli. I think that's kind of all you need to know, just to go back on that take that I think the Blue Jackets made out like bandits out of Nashville. Brian Boucher on the broadcast said that Adam Fantilli is a little bit faster than Carlson right now, yet Carlson's somehow supposed to be the more NHL-ready guy than Fantilli. I don't know. I mean, I think the Blue Jackets, again, should be very, very excited for what they have going for them. That was kind of all that stuck out to me in the draft. I mean, Carey Price butchering David Reinbacher's name, that was pretty savage. Matvei Michkov again going to the Flyers. Really, really cool. That's an absolute steal for them. That dude is a beast. In 3 years, he's going to be a headache in the Metropolitan Division for Blue Jackets fans. Capitals got Ryan Leonard, and they kept talking about Ryan Leonard being the next Tom Wilson. That has to be just a lazy media person's take on a guy that, maybe they just don't really know a whole lot about. I don't know if you guys get that when you watch ESPN. Maybe it's just like that bias that ESPN doesn't know what they're talking about most of the time. I felt like maybe that was the case here, that they're just kind of throwing, crap at a wall and hoping that it sticks, which, is a pretty big play in media. I mean, I do that crap all the time, and it ends up working out pretty well. So that play could absolutely be valid there with Ryan Leonard. But those are kind of the two guys. Those were, after the Blue Jackets went, those were the next two teams that were going to go, that I was going to be watching or keeping an eye on, simply because they both play in the Metropolitan Division, who are, future guys that I have to worry about. Matvei Michkov, he's fortunately not a guy that I have to worry about for the next, several years, because of the issues with Russia being hard-nosed and not letting their players come over. And then Ryan Leonard, I mean, I think he was from the National Development Team, same team as Will Smith. Those guys don't put a lot of fear in me. I'm just going to say it. Like, I'm not really scared of Ryan Leonard. If Ryan Leonard comes back up later in life and ends up scaring me, hopefully I'll forget that I said that I wasn't scared of him. But at this current moment, I am not scared of Ryan Leonard. I am safe to say that. What else? Emily Kaplan made Will Smith sing some lyrics to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He seemed very uncomfortable doing that. Emily Kaplan then also asked him, why did you choose that song to walk up to? I think Will probably felt a little silly answering the question, but Emily, his name is Will Smith. Will Smith is the singer in that song, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is a very overplayed song. It's not overplayed. It is an absolute heater of a song, but come on, Emily. She did a great job, by the way. It's very, very tough to be in that position and she has to basically have 3 to 4 questions for every dumb 18, 19-year-old hockey player that ends up sitting next to her that night, which they all pretty much have the same kind of reaction. Like, oh yeah, I'm really, really excited, and I'm looking forward to getting to work. Tons of emotion going through my head. Thank you to my coach. That's kind of like how those go pretty much all the time. Nevertheless, she did a great job. But that's the NHL first round draft for you tonight, man. I mean, again, hell of a draft for the Blue Jackets. I'm really, really excited about the future. I'm going to throw 2 reallys in there, and I throw really, really excited around a lot. But, I mean, this offseason has been so, so exciting for Columbus. We finally got details on the Mike Babcock contract. He's getting $2 million a year for the next 2 years. So we locked him in. It's a new era in Columbus, and every single Blue Jackets fan should have a smile on their face as they go to bed for the rest of the offseason, because you got a really, really good team to look forward to playing this fall. That's all we have for you today. Tomorrow we'll be doing a review of the Jackets' second round in the 2023 NHL entry-level draft. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen every day. Locked On Blue Jackets remains free and available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and the SiriusXM app. I'm Hayden Househorn. You can find me on Twitter at HaydenH971. You can follow the show on Twitter at LO_Blue Jackets. You can also email the show, lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening, and until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.